Oh no.
All right, we're back again. Hi, this is Tiara Shea with Insert Burger Pun.
And I'm Mike.
Yes.
And I'm also with Insert Burger Pun, and we're here to talk about the Bob's Burgers movie.
Yeah, it took me a long time to watch it. I saw Jurassic World before I saw this movie, and I'm gonna have to live with that. But yeah, we saw it just a few days ago, and I enjoyed it, so we're gonna talk about it.
That was your overall feeling, was just that you enjoyed it? I didn't get that feeling from you.
No. Well, I mean, what? I feel like at the end of the day, it was a long... It's a long episode, so...
Yeah, but that's not necessarily a positive, is it?
That's true. I mean, it kind of goes into why it took me so long to watch the movie in the first place, is because I was worried that whatever it was going to be was not going to be good enough for me. And after watching it, I was like, I enjoyed that. There were things that I would definitely change. There were things that I wish didn't happen, things that I wish did happen. But overall, I enjoyed it just like I enjoyed the show.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like, that's how
Yeah.
I'm saying I enjoyed it.
Okay.
There are definitely things that I would change and things that I did not like, but I can say that about a lot of the episodes as well.
So is that what we're doing first? Or no, I think first we should talk about, like, this has been a very, very long time coming. I don't even remember when it was announced originally, like 2019
Yeah,
or
it was like
something?
at least 2 years ago. I think it was, at least 2 years ago, and then like end of 2019 going into 2020, because I remember at the start of COVID I was like, shit, like that it's gonna affect this, and it did. But yeah, definitely to like 2019, and it got pushed back to now, and this is what we got.
But it was going to be last summer, right? So like basically a year long delay.
Yeah, it got pushed by definitely a year, because it got to the point that every time there was any news about the movie, I would just kind of go because I'm like, it's gonna get pushed again anyway. So until I see that it's out in theaters, or until I see something more concrete, I'm not gonna believe any of the dates that I see like online or that they're posting, because I also like want to take into consideration, like, I'm glad that it took this long. Yes, again, like I said, that I wish that there were different things that happened, but I'm glad that they pushed it rather than trying to just rush it to get it to us sooner. And who knows what we could have gotten. Those dance numbers could have not had choreography.
Well, and I mentioned how long it's been because I think I'm on the other side of it. Like, expectations were slightly higher, if not significantly higher, because it took so long. And unless they figured it had to be a summer release window, like they just really wanted it to be a summer movie, maybe it would have been ready 6 months ago and they didn't want to release it then. But if they've been working on it the whole time, like right up until the end, I'm a little bit confused by that.
That's fair.
Given what we got from
I guess
it.
the way I see it is like we gave them an extended period of time for them to do the same thing. It probably was going to be the same. They just needed a lot more time to do it because of COVID?
Maybe. I mean, did the show get delayed because of COVID? Like, was there any
so that's the other thing.
delay there?
So what if the delay was the fact that they're doing the show and the movie at the same time, where they're like, we still need to pump out these episodes so they don't lose interest, but we also still need to, work on the movie. They did season 11 and 12 during that time.
Waiting for this. Right. And I would be very curious to hear who was even animating it in the first place.
Well, we had an animator who passed away who was working on it. This was his last feature.
So typically with the Fox animation domination shows, they're like boarded in the US, they're written in the US, but they're shipped to South Korea for like the rank and file animation because it's cheaper over there. And so they don't really care. It just needs to be done. So there's a precedent for that in big budget properties. And I'm pretty sure that's what they do for the actual show itself too, for Bob's Burgers. This, I have no idea. I mean, obviously a completely different style, but on top of that, we have so many 3D models in this movie that completely change the look, on top of shading, of course.
Lots of shadows.
Yep, there's tons of shadow stuff going on, like with basically any TV animated show to feature film adaptation. Just get the shading needs to be more intense, right? Rugrats, Wild Thornberries are the go-tos, where it's just like, oh, it's dramatic now.
I think,
it's a movie, so it has to have shading that makes it feel completely different. But I feel like it's getting ahead, because I think we need some kind of like sections here, so like maybe we can later get into like, okay, just how it looked.
Yeah.
Just the character stuff, just the story stuff.
Yeah, I have.
But up front, we could do general, because you already touched on general impressions.
Yeah, I have initial thoughts.
You have initial thoughts. You have more initial shots to share?
We have initial shots right now.
Shots to there.
Initial thoughts. The song started immediately and abruptly. Yeah. But I think we'll get to the songs later, probably.
Yeah, sure. That can be a whole section, too. Yeah, it's the musical numbers.
I wasn't going into it with a lot of expectations, and, like, that may be my own thing, where with Power Rangers, with even with Jurassic World, I'm going in to see these movies that I know that I like. I'm a big fan of where they come from, and I know that a lot of people, when they watch the readaptation or the adaptation, they're just wanting to like poke holes as everywhere, and it just say it's a bad movie no matter what, because it doesn't live up to the show or the source material. So I was gonna go in blank slate and watch this movie as a movie, and I laughed at parts, I gagged, and I had a great time. I kind of was confused at certain parts, but overall, I would watch it again, just not in theaters, and I wouldn't pay.
You wouldn't pay?
Like, I wouldn't pay to watch it. I wouldn't pay like $18.
So you would happily see the movie again in theaters, but only if you weren't going to pay for it.
Not to say in theaters, but like once it comes out on where I could watch it
again.
Yeah, I would watch it again. Somewhere. I would throw it on the same way I throw on Bob's Burgers to background cleaning, read whatever. I would gladly throw on this movie. That is my initial thought. After I walked out, I was like, okay, yeah.
I had a concern at the idea of seeing this in public in a theater with strangers,
with 6 other people.
Is that we had like awful teens who came in late and like screamed in the last 10 minutes. Did you hear that? They were just like screaming for the last 10 minutes of the movie. I don't know what that was, but I'll talk about the crowd in just a second, because it's kind of important. But going into it, I was a little bit worried, because it kind of feels like when you have a friend who plays music, writes songs, and they're like, yeah, I'm really good. Like, I'm really good. I'm gonna do it all, and you're like, yeah, I mean, you're doing okay, but it's like you're being supportive and everything. And then they go out for an open mic, and you're going to go to this open mic, and you're like, okay, well, guess what? Now, you're open to a larger audience. There's potential for criticism.
That's true.
And I had that concern. I guess not too surprisingly, the crowd we saw it with was very young, roughly our age group, which is, I mean, that's who watches Bob's Burgers, and younger, probably, right? Like, it's actually still pretty popular.
And we're 50, so.
Yeah, and I actually was trying to take note of the stuff that even our small audience, like, responded to the most, which I'll just briefly comment on, I guess, because it's speaking to what other people, so I'm just trying to guess what other people have liked about the movie or whatever. I think they liked Bob stuff in general. There's a lot of, even early on, Bob talking to Burger.
Yeah.
Bob being very stressed out and just freaking out about stuff. People liked Bob a whole lot.
They really did.
There were a couple of, like, just good, funny lines, like one-liners or stuff that people really liked. Yeah, Adult Bookstore was one of them, and other ones that I forget that, like, 1 or 2 people caught and seemed to like. There was a little bit of rowdiness at the end, maybe because it was shitty teens watching it with us. I also feel like it did run a little long.
Yeah, like I felt like it was more getting antsy of like, is this done?
It probably didn't need to be that long. And also we have, like, I get it, they want to have tension and like a little bits of relief towards the end, but there's so many sections, like 2 or 3 different spots where it's like, oh, this is the climax, like this is the big huge ending. And then it was like, no, now we're going to do this other thing now. And now there's more tension.
And then like, oh, remember, Tina has an issue. We got to go do that real fast.
That too. Yeah, well, I'll applaud that to a certain extent, trying to give everybody something to do, even though it's not everyone's story. So the attempt is there. I guess we'll talk later about whether or not that was successful. But a lot of that goes in line, I think, with my general impressions, which was, yeah, there was parts of it where I was like, oh, yeah, I'm confident in this. Like, I don't feel that anxiety of, oh no, now it's in front of a huge audience.
Right.
Potentially. No, it was fine. It was a solid enough movie, more towards the first half, I would say, for myself. And it's some decent writing. There's some funny lines and stuff. It was good. I'm sure it's a lot of the same people who write for the show. But yeah, at the same time, ending, felt very weak.
It did.
It felt long. Some of the music, even, I was like, these are not the hits. Like, these are not... It didn't feel like even on par with some of the really good songs from the show at times,
yes,
which was strange.
I have a note about the songs, indeed. Oh, yeah.
So, all that. All that was there watching it. And I don't think the impression has changed that much. I haven't really felt myself, like, thinking about it too much. Since then, I think I've forgotten a lot of things that happened in the movie, unless I look at, like, a list of scenes or something like that. Anyway, that's general stuff.
Oh, yeah, what did the... Oh, okay, I want to say something about
that was all I remembered about. Oh, and also there was a dead pixel on the projector we were watching that you couldn't see from your seat because I leaned to check. But from my angle straight on, there was a very, very bright white dead pixel almost in the middle of the screen. So for the first half hour, that's most of what I was paying attention to.
I pretended to see it.
Yeah, it wasn't great. But other than that, we have something about the crowd.
Yeah, there were two people who were sitting in the same row as us, which rude in an empty theater. And the girl was asleep within 15 minutes.
Wow.
Like after the first number and like when the hole occurs, she woke up when the hole occurred.
I don't know whether that reflects on the movie or just it was very late. We saw it very late.
Yeah, we did at 10:30. I've fallen asleep in theaters, but I just thought it was really funny. I'm like, is this setting the tone for the movie? Because the first number is so long and like I don't want to say it woke me up, but it reminded me like, oh yeah, they do sing a lot in the show, and everybody got a little piece, and it was a very introducing the movie to you. What are the characters' problems? Songs. So let's just talk songs. We're here now.
I'll say something about that quick. This is gonna be long, by the way. This is gonna take a while, but
I got 2 pages of notes.
It's gonna take a while, but briefly, I will say. I mean, we all knew there were gonna be a bunch of show tunes in the movie, right? Original songs, like that made sense. I had seen that pop up on YouTube was like, the official upload of that song, Sunny Side Up Kind of Day or whatever it's called. And I didn't watch it, but I just saw, I was like, okay, gotcha. Sets this up, maybe it'll be reprised at the end, does it get reprised at the end? It gets reprised a couple of scenes later.
Not at the end.
But that's what you do. And this is a movie where why not just go full, how cute would it be to have a little tiny overture section, just like the typical musical theater structure of, okay, we have our I Want song, which I guess Sunny Side Up qualifies as, communicates the motivations of the characters.
Everyone.
We have our big villain song, which is awful.
We'll talk about it.
One of the worst songs in the show.
But I think that was the point.
But yeah, like bookending certain melodies and stuff, it can give you a sense of closure and structure, and that's a reason why it's been done in musical theater for so long. And Bob's has been heading in that direction for years. Why not? Like, this is the time. Like, this is when we do this. Unless they're also planning a live theater show at some point, which would be interesting.
Oh my gosh.
So,
I would see it.
But yeah, just the idea of like, okay, this needs to feel like a movie out of the gate. We have our different visuals. We have that song. I do think that song does a good job. It's saying like, okay, here's the premise. Here's what's going on. Sort of gets into stakes. It's a fun song. It's a fun song. Lots of energy to it.
It shocked me.
But yeah, this is the thing I'm forgetting. I was like, at what point did it feel like my interest was dropping off a bit? And all I can think of really is the terrible, really, really long villain song.
Okay, so it took you a while.
Well, that's the only thing I can remember towards the end. So maybe halfway through I started to, I don't know, maybe the burger cart is when it started to fall off and feel like, oh yeah, it is just kind of an episode.
Yes.
And they're going to get into wacky shenanigans.
Which the burger cart, my goodness.
The burger cart was the thing. Do we want to talk about, I guess story, it makes sense to talk about the story.
Sure.
Right? So, I guess already spoilers, so we don't need to worry about that.
Oh yeah, spoiler alert.
But the story, if you're not aware, it's basically the same threat that's been around many other times before, which is they might lose the restaurant, but like for reals this time. I'm sure that was written in the script somewhere.
For realsies.
For realsies, like, no, like, it actually matters. Like, it's a real threat.
The issue really felt like Bob's Day Afternoon, where he was going over to the bank to ask for an extension on the loan from the bank guy. Like, it truly just felt like that episode. And I was like, wait a minute,
With some tweaks. Well, yeah, at least the setup. But then the thing is, it's just compounding comedy of errors. Right, even though the whole, we have had also that problem before.
Yeah, and apparently, so I was, of course, going through the trivia because that's what I do. Yeah. But apparently, throughout season 12 of Bob's Burgers, the sidewalk in front of the restaurant just gets more and more like decay-y and stuff. Sure. So it's supposed to be foreshadowing for the movie for that to happen. Yeah, that's and I was fine. Like, look at that. Yeah, look at what they did.
There you go. Good job, team.
So yeah, so the issue is they need to pay back the bank from their loan. Yeah. Otherwise, they're going to repossess the kitchen tools.
Yeah, just the equipment, the restaurant equipment, not the building itself. Weirdly.
Well, he doesn't own that. Fischoeder owns that.
Yeah, but like I don't know. I felt like
they took out a loan to buy
other fixtures and such would be a thing. That's the setup, and then just other things keep going wrong that make it even more unlikely that they will actually.
Right. So Linda's like, amount. It's okay. We can raise the money that fast because you know what? They're having a wharf festival and everyone's gonna be here and it's gonna be great anyway. So Bob's like, dope. But then a sinkhole literally occurs in front of their door. So like you literally cannot go into the building into the Bob's Burgers. The Bob's Burgers.
They should have just made a better sign for the alley. Like I don't.
Yeah, they had multiple signs like that.
Sign gags,
which I guess is fun. But yeah, I've been to restaurants where you can't go through the front for whatever reason and you have to take a side entrance. It's not that weird. Yeah, but I think they made it such like we can't do anything. And I was getting really frustrated because it was just like, we have a clock of 7 days?
Yeah, something like that.
It was like 7 days and it took till they had 4 days left to do the burger cart. Right. To which Bob wasn't even thankful. Well, I mean, I guess because of the permit stuff, but I put down in my notes, does Bob ever say thank you to Teddy for anything? Because even though Teddy's annoying, and he's not my favorite character, Teddy really comes through for them and is like, I'm also going to help you, like, not flounder and make sure that you succeed, and I'm going to help in any way that I can. And Bob's just like, whoa, we're going down. We're going down. It takes them a little bit too long, in my opinion, for how big of stakes that they had and they gave to us as an audience. It took them way too long to actually take action to do things. Like, you could make money other ways at this point. You know, if you can't sell burgers, go do something else real fast.
Except that it's in character.
I guess.
All that stuff is in character. Also, that sets up Bob's arc for the movie, which is he needs to be more like, hopeful and supportive of things, especially in his relationships, right? So like there is that. It's not especially strong. But anyway, some other big plot beats. They talk to Mr. Fischoeder, who gives them a maybe of like they can postpone rent or something to pay off this and whatever. They'll get it figured out, but they're not sure about that. And then they find a corpse in the hole, which brings up a whole other fucking murder mystery thing that diverges away from the restaurant until it converges again just because the kids are in danger and stuff.
Well, the body is attached to the Fischoeders, so...
Right, so that sets it off, but I'm saying for so long, the movie becomes about that, and that's the kids' adventure while the grown-ups are doing the one thing.
They don't even realize that the kids are doing what they're doing until they are doing the burger cart on the wharf. They're supposed to be
in school, so,
Yeah, and they see the bikes. So, I mean, everyone's supposed to be in school.
So, long story short, it becomes a murder mystery thing. Louise is like, well, we have to find the actual murderer because then Mr. Fischoeder will be okay. He can let us off the hook, basically. So that's quite a bit of a thing, and it takes up a lot of time. And that leads to our ultimate villain and everything. And like,
who was there all along?
What if they all die? So then there's that, but then it all gets fixed all at once at the end, and then we're good to go.
I'm realizing this movie actually frustrated me the more I think about it.
This is something, well, I'm sure we've talked about it at some point on this show, and I've maybe talked about it elsewhere before, but there's always this conflict of, with serialized shows like this, the status quo is so important, but it can feel frustrating when the status quo is like uncomfortable to watch in certain ways. So obviously they never have any money. They almost have all the success so many times, and it doesn't work out. Characters never really change that much, even though they sometimes have tiny little things that don't really change who they are.
Little glimmers of hope of change, and then it's the next episode, and it didn't.
It goes back. And so specifically with this, it's a show. It has a movie. It's going to go back to being show for as long as it can. They can't change that much unless they just did, which is what, like, Steven Universe did that. Mm-hmm. They had the movie, the show. It's a new show after that. Like, there's growth. That's the point. It works very well for that. I don't know. Those two things conflict because in a movie, typically, you're supposed to have character arcs. You're supposed to have, substantial instances of change and improvement,
right,
at least in mainstream storytelling. And here, especially at the wrap-up at the end, feels like so much backtracking while they're trying to give us the impression of, oh, look, everything's changed and better.
Yeah.
And nothing has at all. They don't even graduate to, like, it's summer. They should talk about, oh, they're getting to the next grade or something. Nothing. Nothing at all. It just feels like the same old stuff. Again, yes, episode feel, but in a movie structure.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense why it was very frustrating then, because then it's a feature-length film of just, come on, guys.
Yeah. In fact, I'm sure maybe we can get our hands on a copy, but, like, I'm sure we could edit this down to be maybe not 1 episode length, but 2 episodes long.
Okay.
And you would have still have the major beats and the better songs, and it would be fine. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot more here that we maybe didn't need, but it needed to hit, certain feature runtimes and whatever, or at least that's how it feels. That's probably a more cynical take. You kept mentioning just specific character stuff that you didn't like.
Yes. So Jean, let's start with Jean.
Okay, let's talk about Jean.
Let's go ahead and do this.
Yeah.
All right, Jean, I love you, baby. What were you doing the whole movie? What was he adding to anything? Yeah. Besides his one-liners, which were great, and I love them. They're so funny. Adult bookstore, like the spoon thing. Even I get the spoon thing of he just wants his little noise device, but that's literally his only issue, because like you said, we have the What I Want song at the beginning, where why it was so long is because everybody got a verse to explain what their issue was. Yeah. And I thought it was really, I think that's why it confused me and was so shocking to me, because I was like, okay, so Bob's I get, okay, Linda's I get, Tina's okay, sure, I understand that, Louise, ooh, okay, that's gonna be drama, and then Jean was just like, I just want to play my spoon thing. Yeah. I'm like, wait, what? Well, that's your problem. Your problem is that you're insecure about your sound, that you think that other people think your sounds are annoying, but you like them, and
also we've had that episode before.
Exactly, and so I'm like, what is the what? And he wanted to get the Itty Bitty Ditty Committee back together, and Daryl didn't even remember it existed. So I thought that I wasn't sure whether that was supposed to be like a joke or not.
Yeah, I think so.
It was supposed to be a joke?
Yeah, they're just like, oh yeah, that thing.
He's like with Peter Pescadero.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, Jean just really felt kind of like a throwaway kid, but I think I've been getting that vibe from him in these more recent seasons anyway, because there's not a lot that they're doing with him. Yeah. And it's very clear that, Louise, out of, if you're watching from the beginning to now, when it comes to the storylines that revolve around the kids, Louise has the most variety about the things that are her problems, her conflicts, versus Tina, versus Jean or Tina. It's like, Tina, Jimmy Jr. shit. Jean, music shit or being annoying shit. Mm-hmm. But Louise has all of these different components, I guess. Usually it's stuff that she's getting herself into, but there's the most versatility with her. Mm-hmm. And so I think it was really apparent that both Jean and Tina, who now I will segue over to, unless you have stuff to say about Jean. This was a feature-length Louise episode with the kids, with Jean and Tina tagging along. Is what I will say.
I think we could maybe even argue that in all of Bob's Burgers, Louise is like the protagonist. Mm-hmm. Or Louise and Bob.
I would say that. I would love that.
And I don't know if that's something that was like
on purpose
intended. She's always, been a standout character for sure. The performance is great. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it could have been a response thing too. Like, oh, Louise is so popular. I mean, Tina's been very popular too.
Yeah, and even Jean. Everybody loves Jean.
I guess.
Because he's loud and like random. Like
and
he says
references to the 80s.
To things that he wasn't alive for.
And sort of gay or queer adjacent jokes, I guess, a lot of the time. He does feel like baggage, you know, if they really want to focus on a particular character, other characters tend to get left behind. So not too surprising that Jean got left aside. I'm not surprised they didn't make Jean the focus of everything. But despite that, yeah, they could have, I don't know, do you have specific ideas for a way in which he could have a little subplot that felt more impactful or anything?
I would have loved if Gene was spending his time trying to get Itty Bitty Ditty Committee to back together to perform while this is all going on, as his way of helping his parents to like raise money.
Sure.
And be like, I'm going to perform everywhere, and like, you guys can't tell me to not perform here. And like, that's his thing. And he just keeps playing his little like spoon napkin thing until people tell him to leave. But then he gets like a quarter and he's super happy. And he's like, you can't tell me to go. My mom says I'm a star.
And in general, technically, everybody was working towards the same goal of save the restaurant. Everyone in the family was doing that.
Well, Louise,
on paper.
Louise technically was not.
But it doesn't feel that way.
Right.
Especially when we get into the murder mystery stuff. It just feels like, oh, here is another thing. Here's another story thread. They're over there. And yeah, like what if each of the kids had their own plan for saving, and they each took steps, even if the joke with one of them is it fails immediately and they stop trying.
Like Tina's like let's do a kissing booth so I can get Jimmy Jr. over here, and he's like, I don't want to kiss you.
And then they come back to her later, she's got nothing, so you're like, okay, I'll tag along with you guys. And again, yes, it is in character for Gene and Tina to just be with Louise and do whatever she says.
God, but I was just really I don't know, and I think as the movie was going on in the theater, every time Gene kind of had the floor, I was like, okay. And then he wouldn't do anything.
Blew it.
Even with the Carnies, I'm like, this is your time, dude. These are your people, and nothing. Nothing. Even like with the songs.
Oh, the Carnies.
I thought it'd be really cool that if consistently throughout the movie, at the end of whatever song was playing, if Gene was there, he would play the spoon like napkin thing and kind of disrupt the song at the end, or like as the song was ending, he'd play it and people would be like, oh, like what? And he's like, I made it better. Like, you know. Even that I thought would have been kind of cute.
Okay.
But we got nothing.
Yeah.
What did the spoon napkin thing even do?
He used it at the end for the big performance. He was used on stage, and that's it. Okay, well, that's Gene.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into Tina. Tina, baby.
Tina's arc. Tina's arc is that she wants to be...
She's been doing the same shit for 12 seasons.
But is it that...
She wants Jimmy Jr. to be her summer boyfriend, because that's the big fad in the school right now, is to have a summer boyfriend, and you get a token, a memento. Right. Like the Letterman's jackets in the olden days.
Or the pin in Bye Bye Birdie.
I love Bye Bye Birdie. You say goodbye to the bird, it leaves.
Oh, that's a great movie. But then she gives a speech at the end when we're supposedly resolving her arc about believing that there's romance in the world. Right. Because the wrinkle in her arc, the one thing that like sort of makes her doubt, I guess, is like, oh, what if, fantasy Jimmy Jr. is better than anything he could ever be in real life.
Yes.
Therefore, it's not worth trying or something, right? Like she's doubting whether or not even to... And so she gives this big speech of like...
She has her Titanic
moment. Romance is there. And then it's over. She kisses Jimmy Jr., which she's done before. But she's more assertive, even though she also had that arc in a creepy way in the one where she was posing as a boy trying out for Boys for Now.
Yes. Exactly.
So that's Tina.
Yes.
That's Tina's
role. I wanted to... It's like... ladies, or I mean everybody, not even just ladies, like guys, you probably deal with this too, when your friends are pining after the same person over and over again, and they finally are like, you know what, maybe they're not for me, and you're like, yes, all right, let's go, and then 2 minutes later they're just like, oh wait, just kidding, they looked in my direction, right. And you're like, no, we almost had you back. That's how it felt, where Tina just really fell backwards. She took one step forward, had her Titanic moment, and threw the necklace into the water, which Jimmy Jr. found. Whenever.
However.
Don't even ask.
For whatever reason.
A fish threw it up on a thing on a pier.
Show that. That'd be funny. It just drops out of the sky.
I want to see the journey of how Jimmy Jr. got that barrette necklace or barrettless.
Oh, yeah.
And it really went backwards, and it felt like a step backwards for women.
Wow. There you go. The Bob's Burgers movie is a step backward for feminism.
I mean, come on, girl. I wanted her to go into summer confident as a single woman.
Yeah.
And enjoy her summer.
Yeah.
I think with Tina, my ultimate goal for her is for her to get over Jimmy Jr. and for the roles to switch. I want to see that so bad, and I don't know why the writers have not at least tried to do it, because I think it'd be really interesting for her to kind of just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna enjoy my friends in school and I would love to see kind of like a look on Jimmy Jr.'s face of like, oh shoot, like she is actually a really cool girl.
Yeah.
And maybe I will like her. And then Tina go, you know what? I'm focusing on me right now. I'm trying to be a strong, sensual woman, and just becoming that kind of character where she's kind of trying to like push the guys off of her, because in her mind, she's kind of this womanizer, like with her zombies and her, like all these fantasies have her being the one that is sought after. And so if she took that personality from her fantasy into the real world and just was like, fuck you, Jimmy Jr., I'm gonna do me, Jimmy Jr. is gonna be attracted to her, and she'll be able to say, you know what, no, and then make room for Zeke.
Sure. Or Tina starts hanging out. I guess we're just talking about the show, but like, or Tina starts hanging out at the performing arts school like all the time. She looks into a transfer or something.
Yeah.
Like she's into stagecraft all of a sudden. Changes would be nice, but yeah, we just don't get change from the show, and we're not getting change from the movie, and so yeah, I think a lot of these arcs fall flat. But we can talk to her. I mean, that's Tina.
I put or heck, they just become friends.
There you go, like for realsies this
right
time.
Just like friends.
Actually, maybe that's the subtitle for the whole movie, is for realsies this time. Like it's a lot of the same stuff, but supposedly slightly more serious,
trying to change it, but
or
then
important or
not
something,
really.
And then it doesn't really happen. So it's
Okay,
not actually for realsies. We don't need to talk about Bob and Linda. I already touched on Bob's arc. Linda has nothing.
Yeah,
she's there.
I mean, she's just being supportive, but also not thinking anything through, which is classic Linda. That's that June 3rd Gemini vibes.
She doesn't get all that much. She has burger bikini, and that's about it.
She does. Well, I mean, that's
enough.
Product.
More than enough.
That's why it needed to be a summer movie, because you know how many people are going to go out and do that
Halloween.
Burger. I mean, for summer, I'm going to do it.
Okay. So it really comes down to Louise. She is probably our far and away protagonist of the movie overall.
Yes.
And what is her thing? What is her issue?
So her issue is that Chloe Barbash publicly shamed her and said that she was a baby because she was wearing her ears, which made her not able to do Dead Man's Fall, which is a
Dead Man's
jungle.
Drop.
Yeah, the Dead Man's Drop, which is that little flip-de-loop-de-loop, and you land on your feet.
Yeah.
Which physics, man, is crazy because you can actually do that.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And so she calls her a baby, and she has this insecurity that she's not brave because she's under the impression that her ears came from her being too afraid to go into preschool. Right. So she just has that insecurity throughout the movie and wants to prove that she is brave. And one of the ways that she's doing that is by going in the hole to solve the murder, or she doesn't even know that there's a murder. She wants to go in the hole, get it on video, show Chloe Barbash, as if that's gonna make her seem brave.
Yeah.
And then that's how she finds the body, and then the teeth fall in her mouth.
Right.
But we'll get to that.
Right.
But yeah, so that's her issue, is that she doesn't feel as though that she's brave or perceived as brave.
And that leads to the internal doubt and stuff. And that's just yet another thing where, yes, it is in character, but also not. Well, yeah, the ears are representative of her insecurity about this. But so many times, okay, yes, so she is insecure. We know that, and her very dramatic section in the opening number is like, wow, is she that insecure? Wow, okay, I guess she's really touchy. But then, again, back with the show, she's also very brave in a very public way, and in kind of to a bad degree. In fact, we had that terrible episode somewhat recently of you get people into dangerous situations. She was like, oh yeah, maybe that is bad,
but I'm gonna do it anyway.
But I'll guess that's who I am, so whatever. Do you think this thing of Louise thinking she's maybe not who she wants to be, or that she doesn't appear the way she wants to appear? Well,
here's my opinion.
Does it work?
I think if anybody besides Chloe Barbash had said that to her, she would have been fine. I think that she sees Chloe Barbash as the female that she is supposed to be, air quotes.
Yeah.
She's supposed to be this, like, girly girl who smells good all the time and just, like,
uses a full bottle of shampoo every time she washes
she washes her hair. Like,
stereotypical
Chloe
femininity.
like, even if you watch the other episodes, like, that is the girl who will get under her skin. And we already had that Pixie episode where she was realizing, oh, I'm not into girly things. Yeah. But then we have Chloe Barbash, who's just this girly girl, you know? And for Chloe to call her out like that in front of everybody, like, what is Louise supposed to say back to her? That Chloe doesn't care about her. Chloe doesn't care about her opinion, and Louise knows that, and that's like what brings that insecurity up to her, because she's in the back of her mind being like, why can't I be like that? Why can't I not care about other people's opinions, and why can't I just be like Chloe Barbash? I don't know.
So do you think it pays off in a satisfying way?
I do. And I hate the way I said it. I do, and I think I'm saying it that way because I'm seeing a lot of backlash on the movie where it's like, oh, we had this whole build up to see Louise without her ears and we didn't see it. And I'm like, I don't think that's what it was. I don't think that's what we were promised, and I don't think that's what the hype was about. One, the hype was about hearing the backstory of where the ears came from, and we got that. I think for her growth, it was her realizing, like, you know what? These ears represented bravery for me, and, like, me needing bravery, and now I'm wearing these ears because I like them, you know? And maybe she'll stop wearing them over time, but I don't think it was going to be an abrupt, oh, I'm not wearing these anymore. Because then what? It's like she's throwing away all of these years that she's been wearing them to a comment that Chloe Barbash made. You know, like, that's not what her evolution of her losing her ears should have been. It should be her deciding at her time when she's ready, I don't want to wear these ears anymore. So now at the end of this movie, she's wearing those ears because she likes them, not because she needs them. So I think it paid off. But I can understand.
She doesn't have to throw them away. No, but like...
I think that's what people were expecting. They were expecting at the end of the movie for us to see the whole family with Louise without her ears on.
Whatever. I don't see why anyone would care specifically about that. But seeing her without the ears in general would have at the very least been a visual representation of her arc.
I don't think so. I don't think that she's ready for that. Like, I think we were like, if that's...
She did it. It's just that the camera didn't show us.
That's well, there have been plenty of other times where her ears have been, or not plenty, but like there have been other times where her ears have been removed and the camera didn't get it. It's like
right, but this is a movie.
True.
And this is apparently the center of the whole thing.
It wasn't the center. The center.
She is the center. What is the center?
What was the buildup was the backstory of the ears. Where did they come from? And they gave that. They delivered it fully.
Yeah, that was also just like, whatever. Like, okay,
but
yeah,
it's
we
like
assumed as much.
with Kenny from South Park.
What?
You know, with his hood.
Yeah.
And we got that moment where we see him without the hood, and it's like, cool. It's a blonde kid. I think if we did get that shot of Louise without her ears on, it would have just been like, oh, if you want to know what Louise looks like without her hat, look at Linda. People, I don't know. I think it's like that shot of her with, because then what? Then we go back to the show, which I assume is going to continue on. Then is she going to be written in without her ears? Are they going to be animating without?
She doesn't have to get rid of them. We're talking about one place where they could have made the movie feel like there was some kind of change or advancement or difference from the show, and it was yet another place where they're just like, nah.
I don't know. I think it was a creative choice, and I personally...
No, it's the absence of... It's the same thing they have been doing. That's not creative.
Well, okay. That's fair. I respectfully think that I like the choice of them not to do that, because...
I also wasn't asking about the ears. Her arc as a character.
Oh.
Do you feel like by the end, it was like, oh, wow, yeah, she really... Like, we didn't expect that she would... be like, oh yeah, I am brave. Did that feel like, oh, this was the movie? Like, good job, Louise? Hooray, Louise.
Sorry. Okay, cool. I feel like I'm in a Miss America pageant, and I'm like the Africa everywhere such as girl. Okay, so...
I mean, the ear thing is, I'm glad we talked about it too, but like, the ear is just representative of...
I think that she should have got that Louise, you are brave talk a little bit earlier. That way she could have used that
She
knowledge.
was the one who, she ends up being the one who manifests it, achieves her own arc. Is that what you're saying? That would have been better?
So with Bob telling her like, hey, you are brave and blah, 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 that came so late in the movie that she wasn't really able to use that newfound, oh yeah, I am brave, I have been validated by family or whatever, to like make an impact towards the plot of the movie. Like, I would have appreciated that for Louise to then use towards this murder mystery.
Yeah, and this is another weirdness where like her thing wraps up in the ultimate like we are family moment.
Yes.
Right? And when they break that stuff out, it feels like that was supposed to be the big thing of the movie. It's just like, oh, general family bonding and togetherness and getting through the tough times and stuff. But I think that was really the only scene where it was a thing.
Well, that was pretty much the only scene that they were all together for a really long time.
Yeah, just like the beginning and I guess, and then the big dramatic car thing towards the end.
Oh my good golly gosh. The clam
Well,
car.
okay, so you know what? Is there any other big character stuff you want to touch on, like real quick, or the absence of certain characters, or the focus on our family as opposed to a bunch of side characters and stuff?
I have a whole thing, not a whole thing, but like lack of side characters. But talking with you, you're like, the focus was more supposed to be on family, which I understand. I get that. Amazing, sure.
I don't think it was.
Oh,
I think it like at one point it was going to be,
right.
Or at some point they were like, oh, it should have been, but it wasn't. It didn't feel like that ever.
But like, we got the bank guy. We get the bank guy for at least 15 minutes of the movie combined. Like if you combine all his little scenes.
Okay.
We get that guy.
No, he's the lone guy.
Sure.
So
we have no Gail. We have no Gretchen. We have no Mort. Even though there's a dead body, I'm like, that would have been. He was there for
he had an appearance.
He had an appearance. Yeah, he had a little like ditty. But there's there's an actual dead body. This is the time for Mort to come in and like make a little joke or like, I don't know, do something. This ties into my, if I were to rewrite this movie, Mort is a little bit more into it. We have Grover Fishoder or whatever. There's no Marshmallow. There's no Edith. Yeah, I think the side characters kind of tie into how I would rewrite the movie.
I see.
So we'll get there.
Okay.
But
I guess we can talk about visual stuff and just like movie staging stuff.
Murder. Oh wait, well while we're on the topic of Louise and her ears, do you want to talk about how that story came about and whether or not you're satisfied with the backstory? Are you satisfied with the backstory of where the ears came from? The true story.
I mean, satisfied, no, I accept it fine as like realistic and believable, but that's like the bare minimum.
Okay.
And like, I guess part of the point is that it wasn't a big deal.
Well, no,
it's not interesting. I liked the little tiny bit of animation to visualize the backstory and then transition back to the present moment.
I have Baby Bob.
It was very nice.
Caps.
Oh no, not that.
Oh.
When she's explaining the story the way
From
she
her
remembers it,
right,
and we get some fun like stretchy whoa, and then just Louise slides
little.
in off the screen, and it's very stylishly done. So that was fine, but the story itself was like, yeah, okay, that's as bland as could be.
I thought it was
what
cute.
we all expected, basically.
I was worried because there's just they've been really dancing around what happened to Bob's mom.
I guess.
They really haven't like solidified. And are you ready for this? Okay. We finally get to see Bob's mom, and she was pretty. She's pretty.
Sure.
She was pretty by like Bob's Burgers animation style.
Yeah.
And I like that they did that because in the back of my mind, I've always pictured Bob's mom being like a fox, and Bob's dad just being kind of like this average dude, kind of like a Bob Linda situation. But her just like really supporting Big Bob and his dreams, and because he makes tuna melts? Is that his thing? Or like, what is his thing that he only makes?
He makes a lot of stuff, but he wants to give people what they want and not do the crazy, insane ideas that he likes.
So I pictured her just like really, really liking like either I think I put tuna melts because I thought that's like what he really likes to make. And maybe she liked burgers as well. And then she gets cancer. Or like some sort of that was the vibe I was getting with like the beanie of her, like from his perspective, he was a baby, saying my mom would wear this beanie even when it was hot outside and da 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 da, and I'm like, yeah, she had hair then, like in that flashback, but like what if over time, like she just kept wearing it because she was losing her hair and like slowly dying.
Okay.
And then after she dies, Big Bob never smiles again and like doesn't want to support Bob in his dreams, although the mom did. Yes. And wanted, you know, Bob to like follow
Flint Lockwood.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, that type of thing. Yeah, I liked the story. I liked the little flashback of what we got to see of baby Bob and just a little bit of mom. I thought it was really sweet. And the hat was raggedy, which I also liked. But then Linda makes Louise her hat into bunny ears for some reason.
Yes.
It just wasn't, that we don't get any information as to why they were bunny ears. Did she like rabbits? Did the mom like rabbits?
Yeah, Bob's mom, I think that's one area where we don't need anything else. We don't need anything more. Like,
what is her name? God damn.
We don't need, no, because it's all shorthand, right?
Felicity.
Like, we know she died. It's loss. This is something we can all relate to. We don't need detail of any kind. So I actually liked, you know, just the tiny bit we got there. It wasn't even necessarily like a big thing to
like,
see the mom's face.
What if we like ended up finding out that the mom's name was Louise? No? Or like had Louise's middle name was the mom's name, or like something like that, where there is a true connection between Bob's mom and Louise.
Well, their personalities,
besides
apparently.
The hat that Louise can hold on to as she ages up and gets rid of the hat, because now, especially now, I'm like, oh, I'm glad that Bob told her that, but at the same time, I'm like, I feel like it might be even harder for her to let go of the ears, because then it's like, oh, I'm disrespecting my grandma, you know. But if they were able to give her like, oh, well, like, you know, like your middle name is Caroline and that was Bob's mom's name, like she can internalize that bravery that Bob's mom had within herself, period, without the ears.
But they did that. Bob said that they were like, she was kind of like her, like they had similar personalities and stuff, which is maybe why he's so close to Louise, you know.
Yeah, favoritism. Let's go.
I don't think we need anything more there. Not a lot of side characters included in any kind of real way. It's just about the family more or less. Teddy is there quite a bit, and then other people just make one-off tiny little appearances, some of whom don't have their original voices.
Mickey Tank Bank,
and
Mickey.
Yeah, it's not a big town story. It's not something where we get a lot of involvement from the town. So, like, whatever, I guess.
The Carnies do a lot of running.
Jenny Slate has, like, 2 lines, and I thought they were funny.
Why am I spacing so hard?
Who's Jenny Slate?
No, like, what were her lines?
What were the lines? Oh, well, the Jocelyn says something like, blah, 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 and Tammy's like, oh, you're like a doctor? Where's your beeper? I don't see your white lab
your
coat.
pager, yeah.
She, like, goes off on her. I was like, that's great. She did a good job.
She took a break from Marcel the Shell to be like, all right, what do you want me to say?
Moving on to just movie stuff, visuals in particular.
I'll let you take the lead on that because I don't understand.
So much of this utilizes 3D models. Mm-hmm. So background characters all of a sudden are 3D models, but with their typical look kind of like painted on. I'm sure that's from the perspective of making the actual animation work easier, because if you have a 3D model, you walk them from here to here, and given the parallax of like camera angle and all that kind of stuff, they can appear from different angles. They're not completely flat, but you don't have to draw them slightly differently as the angle changes and all this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Or like vehicles, for a long time in Bob's Burgers, they've been 3D models and other things, right? Like every once in a while you'll see that in the show, but here so much doesn't look especially good to me, especially when it's the very familiar characters who we've seen for over a decade looking one way, and now not only are they draped in dramatic shadows at all times of day for some reason, but yeah, now there's this extra angle of like, oh, it kind of feels like a 3D movie, even if they didn't necessarily want it to feel that way.
2D.
There's a little foot wall where Louise puts her bike up against it and they step over to get over the wall into like Fish Odor's place or something. Mm-hmm. And even just that in particular, I was like, wow, look, there is a 3D like rectangular prism model with some bricks painted on it. It's like, that doesn't...
$60 million budget.
It doesn't feel like it all fits, you know? However... in terms of like action sequences specifically, some of them I could just see like, oh, this was boarded out really well. Like one of my favorite little action set pieces is the dirty dishes cart
Yes.
thing on the line. Like they
Which,
do,
oh my God.
they get so much out of that in just like a few minutes, and it works. It's very tense. You're just like, oh, and then oh no, but it's
What
this.
did I forget?
It's on a line, so like now they're in this kind of trouble, and this
Yeah.
and this and this. Very creative, just creative and fun. It worked for the setting. It was also weird. It's something from Bob's Burgers specifically, right? That's one that stands out. I don't know, something like car chase stuff. I wasn't a big fan of.
I was not a big. Every time they got into those little cars, I was like, "Oh no!"
Yeah,
but I did like Tina making like awkward eye contact the whole time with whoever was chasing them. I thought that
sure.
was really funny.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm like, if I were in a car chase and was not driving, I think that my instincts would be to just stare at whoever was chasing me
Okay.
and just keep tabs on that.
Sure. But what are some other like action-y, dramatic sequences? I guess sort of kind of Louise falling into the hole and discovering the body. That was kind of neat. That was sort of creepy, right?
Yes.
That was sort of fun.
The teeth falling into her mouth.
Yeah, that was funny.
I had like an actual moment in the theater where I was like, "Oh my god!
Yeah.
Oh my god!"
Yeah.
Yeah, that was action-y, I guess.
What else?
You could
What else
say.
happens? There's the foot chase between the burger cart and the carnies. Underwhelming,
they
like
couldn't
nothing.
find them.
They just ran, and then they
Everybody
ran
would
some more.
join in.
They
Every now
slid
and then.
off the half-renovated band shell at one point.
They had the fuse where Louise had to get on the roller coaster.
That's the
well,
big,
I guess
like,
okay,
kinda
yeah,
climax
the I'm
thing.
brave.
I
did the most dramatic eye roll just now. You didn't see it. but I-
Visually, that was a little. I don't know, the weird, like the geometry of not the geometry. What do they call it?
It just yeah. I
You're
know what you're
supposed
trying to say.
Get a sense of the space and understand it. I did not know
none of
what
the
was
stuff
happening.
that was happening in the molehill and under the molehill. The like
Oh, boy.
that's why the car scenes made me so annoyed because I'm like, where is this supposed to be? Where is this
Yeah.
supposed to be?
Right.
And then with the molehill, I'm like, where is this supposed to be?
Sure.
What this is too large of a space. This is too much, and it didn't have to be like that
Yeah.
to achieve what they were achieving.
The
It didn't-
geography of the space, I think that's what people call it. Like,
Sure.
yeah, there are ways of setting that up and making the audience understand a space. And I didn't feel that, for a lot of
And
those
I think
kinds
maybe
of
that was part of the
sections.
animation, especially with the cars, that it just felt very, I don't know how to best describe it. Just like when they're driving around, especially when Bob has it, he's like, oh, I'm doing really good for not knowing the space. I'm
Right.
like, yeah, girl, like nobody knows the space. We
Yeah.
don't even know where we are. So keep driving, I guess.
dock-
They could have been driving around in circles. I would have loved if they did like a wide shot and it just turned out that they were just on a little,
That's
like
fun.
a cars, like
They
a course.
did have a similar comedy shot when they're in the sand with the cars.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, they're going very fast. Oh, wait, here's the wide shot, and they're going very
And
slow.
they're going
That's
very
funny.
slow.
Okay, but about the fuse thing, which is like that's like the big climactic moment, right?
Yes.
Where they're rescuing everybody.
That was Louise's
I'm brave, and also Bob is dedicated and hopeful. But it was very, very funny that Bob just does a terrible job the whole time.
He tried.
And he like maybe
He
gets
tried.
halfway there or something. And
He
fails
tried his
horribly.
hardest, and they still
That's
supported
great.
him.
Yeah, no, that was a fun little touch. And like that is kind of what I think of when I think Bob's Burgers movie. It's like, oh, you have things that would be in a movie, but throwing these characters into them and they're not suited for any of this stuff. Like they don't quite fit,
Right.
And that was a great instance of that for sure. I can't think of any other big like actiony stuff really. The dramatic lighting a little too dramatic kind of a lot of the time, and is that it? I don't
That's
yeah,
it. I mean,
that's
actually,
kind of
that
it.
was pretty much all.
Those are the big sequences. Any other visual stuff in general? I guess that's kind of it for visuals, right? Should we talk about music now?
Sure.
In the thing, score music, I didn't even notice. I can't even think of what. They do a funny little
let's
version
talk
of
about
the.
the music.
They do a funny little version of the 20th Century Fox or just 20th Century Studios ditty, the little jingle they have for the studio logo. They did that.
Oh right,
stuff.
I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah,
but yes,
there's
at the very beginning.
Very
and I
beginning.
think that got a reaction from the crowd.
Yeah.
I think that got a little ha.
And is it at the tail end of the movie, or is it at the start where we get like a slightly different version of the actual theme song of the show?
Probably at the end because I don't remember
At the end,
beginning.
okay. Yeah, it's a little bit different. That was
Uh-oh.
nice enough.
Yeah. Okay. So songs.
Songs
I
is
like
all of
the
it.
Lucky Duck song, the Carney song.
Oh, really?
I like it the most because the choreography. I remember in the theater, I just had my mouth open for a majority of it because I'm like, they are just okay, cool. They're just
Oh, wait.
they're lucky ducking. Okay, what?
No, go ahead. Was that an actual dance thing?
No,
the lucky duck.
They're lucky ducking. They're just playing the game, and then they're starting to sing. The song's starting to evolve. It's starting to more people are joining in, and then all of a sudden it turns into like Step Up 3D, where they're just everybody's dancing.
Yeah, just going on.
Everybody's doing something. There's people on top of their little thingies doing something, and I was just like, whoa, they are doing it. They're doing it. Even Mickey. I'm like, when does Mickey dance? How does Mickey know?
Okay, hold on. But this is another thing about animation and visuals. Oh, and I'm reminded because of the dancing throughout the whole movie.
Yes.
But movement in general feels much smoother.
Yes.
I don't know whether they're doing like automated tween frame kind of stuff.
They were doing something different.
But the way that mouths move, in particular in dancing,
limbs.
You have to have 3D models to do the dancing anyway because they're spinning around and stuff. So there's that. But like, it might have been like on 2s or on 1s, which means way more individual frames of animation per second than the show.
Yes.
Which is partially a stylistic thing and partially an economical thing in some cases, is you can't draw. No one's going to draw 24 individual frames of animation per second. It would probably look bad, and it would be super expensive and stuff. So they did something here. I don't know if it was automated or not, but some of that came across as awkward to me. And like the dancing itself is funny, but like the movement and the smoothness.
Were turned off by the ample choreography of especially Lucky Duck as an example, but also I think there was choreography in almost all of.
Well, now we have to think of it. Do we have just a list of songs? That might be good to have.
You keep talking. I'm not going to Google it.
Okay, because all I can remember right now is Sunny Side Up, which there's some kind of dancing going on there, I guess. Some choreography, dramatic staging when we get specific characters like verses. There's that. We have my least favorite song ever recorded and performed, which is the 10-minute long sort of villain song and also exposition dump and also dancing. And I don't know what they're saying. There's that.
So that one, from what I'm reading and from the responses of the movie, is I think it was on purpose. I think, and even I noticed this, like as the song went on, I was like, okay, maybe I'm starting to understand. I can hear it a little bit more, like hear what he's trying, like what he's saying. But at the beginning, you're just like, what the fuck are you saying, dude? What are you saying?
Yeah.
But I think that was supposed to be like a play on, and you know this more than I do because I don't watch James Bond, but it was supposed to be like a play on the really long bad guy monologue where like you kind of just tune out and you're not really listening to what he's saying because he's saying so much in front of the hero before he's about to kill him.
Except a song and dance.
Right. So
that's not well written.
Okay.
And also, my overwhelming vibe during that song, which we have to get a name for it at least. I'm sure it's like 25 words long. It felt like the movie thought this stuff was like hilarious.
I thought the dancing was hilarious. I thought it was supposed to be the fact that he was bad at singing and that he was a sporadic dancer. Like that was the vibe that I got, and that's why I enjoyed it, because I'm just like, he's trying so hard. He's trying so hard to like stay in the vibe of this movie of everybody singing their issue or singing the next step of the movie, that he's like, well, I can't just monologue my confession to these people. I have to sing, but I can't sing.
Yeah, but
and
that
I can't
wasn't
dance, so
that
I'm gonna
wasn't
give it a try.
But it wasn't bad enough for that for me.
Okay.
It just seemed like the movie was trying very hard, and I could not care less. I was just like waiting for it to end. It was not fun or funny, and maybe part of it too is like, okay, do comedy acting. Wait, now do comedy voice acting singing, please. David Wayne, director of Wet Hot American Summer, for some reason. Like, yeah, I just think he was a bad choice.
You'll be happy to know that that's the one song from this movie that has been left off the official Bob's Burgers soundtrack. There you go.
Because it's not even really a song.
It's because it gives away the plot.
That too, but it doesn't, like, they didn't bother, like, okay, we're just not gonna rhyme for a lot of this. Also, my god, if we looked at like the sheet music for that thing, I feel like it would be a nightmare. I would feel like, okay, now we're in this time signature, now we're at this tempo, now we're gonna vamp for 20 bars because there are like 2 lines of dialogue that we're gonna struggle through, and then we're going back to the song, but now it's a different melody. It was like, there was nothing about it that felt like they spent time on it.
Yeah.
Which is again, they better have. Like, what? The Bob's Burgers movie? And you didn't bother cranking out some really solid songs for us here? Are there any big standouts in terms of the show tunes? Are there any you've been humming along
I'm
with?
a sucker for a build-up of a song where everybody kind of joins in.
Yeah.
So, if you're asking me, which you are,
Yes.
I would say that I enjoyed the Lucky Ducks number the most.
Okay.
Because it was the
Okay.
most involved. The Sunny Side Up one was nice, but it was
That was
just the
fine.
family doing stuff. But I really liked that at some point there was just like this wide shot and everybody was dancing. And then you think the song is over, and then Louise pops in and does her own little verse.
Yeah.
And then she joins in.
Right.
So that's my vote.
That was okay. I mean, I didn't enjoy it that much in the moment. It's fine. It kind of feels like a VeggieTales song to me, which is probably a good thing. Where
Because of Jesus.
No, just because it's like it's goofy, it's upbeat, and it has this just like quirky little melody that they just do over and over and over again.
I can't tell you not one word of that song right now. Lucky Duck.
all these
we're
lucky
all
ducks,
not lucky
they're
ducks.
lucky to. We're just gonna play our lucky ducks.
Ducks.
Something with that.
But I liked watching that scene.
It was
Is what
fine.
I'll say.
Yeah, that was fine. That was fine. So is that all we got? What? Sunny Side Up, Bad Villain Song, Lucky Ducks. What else is there? There's a reprise of Sunny Side Up thing.
And Bob's Burgers does this to me often, where it really kind of surprises me and like kind of it snaps me back into the show when they start singing. So whenever there's a musical number, I'm like, oh yes, we're here. Yeah. What else? Does Fish Odor have one?
Itty Bitty Ditty Committee is here.
That's
/ My
true.
Burger Buns,
Yes.
I guess. So
I didn't
there's
really count that because that was just Gene like
That's all of them. Everything else is
just
everything else is score music.
Yes.
Like that's it.
But it felt
What?
like more. I'm glad that they didn't do too many songs because that I'm growing into it now. But like there was a time where that was turning me off and turning me away from the show. That I'm like they're just gonna sing every 5 seconds, and that's not what I'm here for. Especially if you're watching the first couple seasons.
Yeah.
They do have songs in it, and that's great. But it's not
Yes.
every 5 seconds of just
Right.
we're talking and now we're yell singing.
Right.
Which is what they do a lot. Like that's what they do a lot in the more recent seasons, and in the beginning of this movie as well. They just hop right into it, and
Yeah.
I'm glad that it wasn't especially because this movie kind of jumps around a lot to different things.
Yeah.
That they could have done a song every single time there was a different thing going on, and I'm glad that they didn't.
No, just like 2 more. Yeah, just like a bare minimum, would have been enough. And instead it just felt like half-assed, I guess. Like, oh, we have to have songs. It's the other direction. Like they didn't want to have any songs, and they were like, "Oh, we'll just throw in some, I guess."
Yeah,
here you go.
That's the vibe that I get too. Like I think the way that I picture it, and I'm probably wrong. I don't know. Who cares? But the vibe I get is that the show was supposed to be this show that has some songs in it, but then fans responded so well to the songs in it that they're just like, well, fuck, we have to keep this up. And yeah, our cast can handle that. We do have a talented enough cast that can make these songs and can produce it. But like at the end of the day, that's not what they were trying to do with that show. And then here we go with Central Park, where they're up front being like, this is going to be very song based. This is going to be we have Broadway people on the cast.
Right.
Enjoy those songs over there. Yeah, at least that's the vibe that I get, that they weren't trying to be a musical show with Bob's Burgers. It just kind of happened based off fan response.
Sure.
And so they did give the musical Bob's Burgers fans what they wanted, but I also think they serviced me as a fan of kind of like, I do love the songs. Hot Pants, Rain Dance, give it to me. But I do love episodes where like they don't sing all the time. That's fine. So I think I would have been more turned off by this movie if they had added maybe even one more musical number. I liked watching it. The plot was a little gnarly. I think in the back of my brain, and which is why this podcast is important to me, is the fact that I like watching the show and then internalizing and going like, how would I write this? How would I try to get whatever like point or goal or whatever I'm trying to say across in a different way than what they did.
Okay.
I like watching it in that kind of way. And so watching this movie, I'm like, okay, the point was Louise wants to be brave. Jean wants to be heard. Tina is whatever. And this is how they did it. And it makes me think about how I would do it from a TV standpoint and then from a personal standpoint. You know, like, what would I do in that situation? So I just enjoyed watching it. And so that's why sometimes when they sing too much or a lot, it kind of throws me off because I'm just like, they're just singing and we're not really getting much. But I like the songs. But I am glad that they did not add any more. Okay. Is what I will say.
On that note, I think my pitch for the movie was much better than what we got. That was such a more
we
interesting story.
We should have re-listened to our episode to see what we had said.
Well, I know what I said.
Oh.
Generally.
Okay, what was it? I don't know.
Bob gets his big shot. Like the big city, here's all the money you want to get it, you know, do what you've always wanted to do. You can be successful, but it means giving up, like, you know, the life you have here and all that kind of stuff. And it maybe causes friction with the family, kids adapting, blah, blah, blah.
Can I also just say that... the scene where they were literally being buried alive.
Yeah.
When I was in the theater, I was just like, oh my God. oh my God. Like this scene, that scene went on for a very long time.
Right.
And it felt like in Toy Story 3 when they were about to be, like, when they were burned, they're all holding hands. It felt like that. And I was like, so I just want to say that.
Okay.
And then
Until they get saved by cartoon logic.
I am throwing my hands up in the air because that's all I thought. Because at first, when he first started pushing the dirt on, like the first couple pushes, I was like, okay, yeah, someone could stop him. Someone can like pop up. But then they were completely buried. And I'm like, wait a minute. How are they going to get out of this? And I already know in my heart that how they get out of this is going to be stupid. I'm going to be mad at it. And I was right.
Okay.
I was mad at it.
Okay.
But this is another reason where, like, another example of Bob not saying thank you to Teddy, who helped them. But my rewrite of the movie based off watching the movie, because I was like, I'm just going to take elements of the plot. Well, kind of, not really. So the murder, and that's the other thing we haven't talked about, which they also didn't talk about in the movie. Cotton Candy Dan.
Cotton Candy Dan.
We should dedicate this episode to Cotton Candy Dan because
okay,
if we're doing like body count, it's one and it's him, and like there is no respect for this dead man in any way.
Right.
Like I felt it made me uncomfortable how they just kind of made him just this guy that was murdered and it's haha and da-da-da. I'm like, he killed him. He killed him.
Right.
Like, whether they all be ex-cons or not, like, he murdered him and got away with it for 6 years.
Right.
And there's just no... Yeah, like, that made me feel uncomfortable when I was watching it, of this man. Like, sure, maybe he was a dick. I don't know. But maybe he was a nice guy just trying to get, like, a new start in life and just got caught in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yes.
And that... Fuck, it was so annoying. So in my mind, I was like, what if Cotton Candy Dan was shot previously? Because that was a running gag with all the people who work on the wharf, is that they're all ex-cons. Like, what if he was shot years ago, had the bullet embedded in him, and like had a bullet in him, and it turns out that like on his way home he had a heart attack and fell in, like they could have kept the whole thing of the construction worker wearing his headphones, not paying attention, lifting the body and putting it in the hole, but like he could have just had like a heart attack, or like because he's eating too much candy or too much cotton candy that he has some sort of like internal body issue where he collapses in the dirt pile and the guy picks him up and puts him in the hole, and that's the whole thing. The whole movie is Louise being like, I'm gonna clear Fischoeder's name, but it turns out that like there was no murder and that it was an accidental death, which brings in Mort. Mort can do an autopsy because he's a medical examiner, not really, but like you get what I mean. Mort can be like, actually this guy died from heart failure or what have you, and it turns out nobody did it, and that Dan died of natural causes and just ended up in the hole because of that construction worker and something like that. Like that's what I would have preferred that over this murder that just gets glossed over by musical numbers. And even at the end, we don't even get a resolution with the Carneys. We don't even get to go to the Carneys and be like, this is what happened, and we're so sorry for your loss. Because like they're a community at the end of the day, like they're a family, and they lost one of their own 6 years ago and didn't know what happened to him.
Right.
And they thought the they thought someone else did it. They thought they thought, like Big Fish Odor did it this whole time. And it turned out to be a different Fish Odor. I don't think that there was justice for Cotton Candy Dan. And that made me like really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Okay, so can I tell you the other portion of the plot that I wrote?
Yes.
That would involve more of these side characters.
Yeah.
So we would keep the sinkhole, we would keep all the stakes, all of the issues, But instead, there would be a big burger competition. And I think this was part of my idea for when we were pitching ideas before, that there was going to be a big burger contest where you could win lots of money. But it ended up being that the people in attendance of the competition would have to vote. And Bob's like, oh my God, like no one's going to vote for me, blah, blah, blah. Like Skip Marooch would be there competing and all that. And then when it came to Bob's Burger, he would present maybe one or a few, like his shtick would be that he would present like multiple burgers. All these different burgers, all these different, like the writers had all these ideas for burger names that didn't make it into an episode, just like 5 or 6 just down the line.
Yeah.
And it would be where it would be that one host, Chuck, who hates him, I forget, him hosting and trying to get people not to vote for Bob, but then like one by one, all of the, like it would start with Marshmallow, and Marshmallow would be like, I vote for Bob. Edith, I vote for Bob. And then Skip Marooch ends up voting for Bob because Skip is gonna, like, they're trying to make Skip win or Bob not win, and just slowly one by one the town kind of comes together and like votes for him to win money. It validates Bob, and he's like, oh, I do make an impact on this town by my burgers. Like, yeah, people don't come to the restaurant all the time, but like they know that I'm good at what I do, period, whether they come and like eat my burgers daily like Teddy, or whether they don't come at all or come every now and then. And I thought that would have been really beautiful for us to get. And then it would be like little sound bites of the side characters, not necessarily having them talk a lot, but just like and this guy would skate by and be like, I vote for Bob.
And more fitting of the overall tone of the show, it's blind, and they accidentally help out and accidentally validate Bob.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Something like that. And then like the double twist of it all is that we don't know where the money's coming from. Like, it's like this big, competition that came out of nowhere. It turns out that it's being put on by Fish Odor. And he's like, Bob, you win. Here's this money. And that I immediately take. And so like we get that payoff of Bob winning, and he gets that validation of, oh, I won. I have like the trust and respect of my townspeople. I won this money, and it immediately has to go to the person who I would pay money to anyway. So then Fish Odor, we get that moment of like, haha, I'm taking your money immediately, and goodbye. And he rides away.
Yeah. Like,
that would have been cute.
Yeah. Although it is ultimately a burger contest, which we've done before.
I mean, we've done a lot of things that were in the movie. You hear that, Fox? Do you hear me?
They're not Fox.
No.
They're 20th Century Studios.
You're right. I had a factoid that I want to know. I want to know if you agree with.
Oh.
Or, well, I mean,
a factoid that I agree with? What?
That Bob's Burgers movie is the first 2D feature-length animated film released by Disney since Winnie the Pooh in 2011. And then,
well, first of all, it's not 2D. It's not actually 2D. So there's
that's
that.
What I say.
And I guess Princess and the Frog was before that. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Before Winnie the Pooh.
I guess I can't think of any other. Calling this a Disney movie is a little bit getting a little technical there. Yeah.
What did you think about Bob's realization that he's like a little bit of a negative Nancy in the car?
Yeah. Where he flips it.
He had that realization. And me, now that I'm in like therapy school, is like, that's what you're supposed to do with your people, is like, you don't tell them, you're supposed to let them realize it. And I think they did a good job of him realizing it so quickly and short. All he had to say was like, I'm gonna do, it's it's my job to say, oh, everything's shit. It's your job to say, oh, everything's great. And we repeat. Oh, that sounds tiring if like you're from that perspective. I'm like, in the theater, I was like, yes, look at him go. If I was his therapist, I would be so proud of him and be like, good job. I can't wait for you to not change tomorrow. But I'm really glad he had that moment. What do you think?
Fine. It was a very, very quick wrap up to that one other scene where we set that up. That's like, he's still very negative, and here we are now. where he sort of stopped catastrophizing so he could figure out his Looney Tunes escape plan. And it worked. And they were all fine, and none of their necks were broken.
Escape route from their Looney Tunes car chase scene.
Yes.
Like, it was just too much for me. It was too much, where I'm like, no. 3 wheels on 3 wheels? No.
How about when they did the crazy jump off the pier thing, the double layered pier that has never been there before,
That's fine.
and crashed into the sand.
And then kept going.
It just destroys Bob's existing back problems, so he can't like look out the windshield anymore. So now Linda's like trying to steer and stuff, and he's like, are we doing good? Yeah, there's a lot of just like brush it off, you know, like, oh, they did something crazy, whatever, now we're on to the next thing, which is not out of place. They do that in the show too, but at the same time, I don't know, so many opportunities for humor in the fact that they don't fit into the standard movie stuff.
So many opportunities for that.
And callbacks. Then, we talked about
the callbacks.
That. Could have done a lot of callbacks. They did a few here and there, but not too many.
They could have just done like subtle callbacks as well. It didn't have to be like these big that's how I feel about the itty bitty ditty committee. That felt like they were shoving that down my throat. Like, do you remember the band with Peter Pestadero? I'm like, just say it, the band.
Yeah.
Just say it.
Well, maybe they assume people don't rewatch like the early seasons. They're like, that was so long ago, and we're like, that's all we watch. Those are the only ones we know.
But just like little things.
It's possible that they threw in a bunch of sight gag Easter eggs and stuff.
I didn't
really. A lot of the background stuff seemed pretty simple, and it was just like, oh, there's Roller Skate Guy.
Roller Skate Guy was in there twice. You got 2.
Sure.
That's why I'm like, okay, so Roller Skate Guy gets 2, but we don't get like Edith.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing Edith, but we also don't see many people.
There's a hole like that's so lewd. That's something she would comment on for sure. 100, like, Harold, they have a hole or something.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it feels like a small thing to say, like, oh, we didn't have all these side characters having lines or show up at all or whatever. But, like...
But then they did
at the very end. I think they would actually go a long way towards reaffirming the Bob's Burgers tone and somehow, or just like, oh, yeah, like, it feels like the town that we know and love, which it didn't really, I think, for a lot of it. We're at the wharf, and we see Jimmy Pesto and his restaurant. And that's
the other thing. Jimmy Pesto. It was funny because it looked like he had lines 2 times, but then they would just cut it off, and I'm like, haha, I know.
Yeah, or even laughing where we just don't get audio, and it's like, oh, that's a little awkward.
I mean, don't storm our Capitol. Like, don't do that.
No, I'm not. No, it just. Yeah.
But then they did like a Twilight Breaking Dawn 2 situation where at the end the credits had everybody. Even people who like weren't in the movie and specific.
Oh, just dancing.
Yeah.
Not credited necessarily.
Oh no, I mean like at the end, they have just the ending scene, the ending credits of the movie include like video and people who weren't necessarily in that movie but are part of the franchise.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful, sure. So like I'm seeing, and it made like as I'm watching it, and I'm like, I'm not sure if they meant to do this, but it just made me kind of annoyed because I'm watching it. I saw Gail, and I'm like, oh wait, yeah, Gail wasn't in this. Here's my, oh yeah, wait, she wasn't in this either. Just all of that. That's what happened to me.
Yeah. Is that like everything?
That's pretty much everything. I have some like just standalone or like some just questions that I wrote down on this Post-it.
Yeah.
That I was like, I want to ask you specifically.
Okay.
Number 1.
Lightning round,
go. And some of these we already answered, so I'll cross them out. Number 1, is this a good standalone film? So, like, if you have not seen Bob's Burgers at all, period, never heard of it.
I wouldn't say good standalone film. I would say fine standalone film. Again, that, like, it wouldn't be super memorable to me, but I'm like, yeah, I did watch a movie. Mm-hmm. That overall, yes, it did more or less feel like a movie structure.
Would you recommend this movie to people who have not seen Bob's Burgers, don't plan on watching the show, but are interested in watching the movie?
Maybe... Maybe. I think the biggest thing is, like, do I think they would enjoy the sense of humor, the general storyline? Which probably, the humor, decent. Storyline, certainly not the strongest aspect. So, like, if it happened to fit someone's taste, but it's not a general recommendation, no.
Okay. If you were Bob and or Linda in the situation, what would be one of your first ideas to make money once the hole was was placed in front of your restaurant.
Oh, the hole was placed, not filled.
Or like
placed
it's
made me think it was.
sorry, once the hole was there.
There's a problem, right?
What would be something that you would try to do?
It would have been funny if Bob, not me, but it would have been funny if Bob tried to go to a sperm bank and they were just like, no, like goodbye. See you later. See you later, bud.
They like look, they look at it. They're like, let me see your back. They're like, oh no, never mind.
Linda would definitely try to sit. She would try to nude model at the art class or something.
And it would be like a class for kids.
Yeah,
something.
right. There has to be something funny where she assumed it was going to be
nude.
yeah,
Yeah,
the standard thing, and she was like, "Oh no."
I like the idea of Bob like kind of like tapping into his bisexual side and like trying to go over to that one bar with all the gay guys and like
sure
doing something. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's just that he tries to sell burgers, but he thinks that his outfit needs to be like insane and like enticing, and they're just like, what? Okay, man. All right.
Okay, was the ear story backstory satisfying? I feel like we already covered that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So how do you think the writers chose the signs at the beginning? Like the past years of your lives, so you think you can pants, sensual.
I assume they have an ongoing list, and
Okay.
maybe they even take like recommendations from different departments, you know, so they can choose from at will. And they maybe said like, yeah, let's choose from some from like the top 20%.
Okay.
You know, not like the best of the best, but just like these made me laugh.
I want to save those for season 13.
I
I
guess,
assume.
yeah.
I said that I was
The
like, I like to
closer.
think that there was an internal vote / competition, like battle royale.
That would be nice,
Like
yeah.
brackets game within the company, and I think that would have been cute, where they all vote what they think is the best, and it kind of like is like a daily bracket thing.
That would be
and
very
then-
fun.
Right?
I would expect that from them too, you know, to do something fun like that.
What was your favorite song compared? What was your favorite song in this movie, and how does it compare to your favorite song in the Bob's Burgers show franchise? Like in the,
Yeah,
in
I'd
the
have
shows?
to. Yeah, I'd have to think of the favorite song in the show overall. I guess Bad Stuff Happens in the Bathroom.
Yeah,
is
that's
up
the
there.
one. That was the
one's
one.
very good.
That's the one I put down for you.
I mean, yeah, I guess it has to be like Sunny Side Up with the little reprise part that they tag on later. It felt good. It felt like movie worthy, I guess, overall. But compared to, some of the big hits from the actual show, I don't think it measures up super well.
I mean,
so.
Twinkling Lights slaps.
Oh, God.
I love it. Hot Pants Rain Dance slaps. Bad Stuff Happens in
No.
the Bathroom slaps.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And then we go to the movie, and I can't like confidently name a song because like Lucky Ducks,
Yeah.
I like the scene. I love watching it. I love like obviously you have to hear it, like whatever.
Yes.
But I can't necessarily say standalone if I'm listening to the song on Spotify. I'm like, ooh, Lucky Ducks, Lucky Ducks, versus all these other songs
Yeah.
from Bob's Burgers that I don't need to watch the scene from Bob's Burgers to enjoy the
they're
song.
standalone as well. Yeah, right.
Ready? Okay, so compared to animated shows that then became movies such as South Park and I was like, I don't know how to say it. And Simpsons movie. How do you think that they compare? How do you think the Bob's Burgers movie stacks up to those two movies?
Just those two?
I mean, like those are the only ones I can
There are
think
a lot.
of.
You couldn't think of Rugrats or Wild Thornberries?
I mean, like
Steven Universe?
I think that I think especially Simpsons is definitely in the realm of Bob's Burgers because Bob has an appearance in Simpsons.
Well, it's the same network, yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
And then South Park was what I was thinking about when I wrote it on this post-it.
Uh-huh.
And Rugrats is like babies.
All these movies
I'm gonna
have
kill my
babies.
brother with baby food.
Yeah. So,
You
I
did
mean,
do
I've maybe seen the Simpsons movie once, and it wasn't when it was released. It was probably
Really?
like 7-8 years ago. So I don't really remember that much about it. I remember it being pretty good.
What?
I think people like it okay.
I specifically put down the
or the
Simpsons movie
SpongeBob
because I thought
movie.
you had watched and really liked that movie.
It's okay. I like The Simpsons
then I throw
for
in
some
the
of it.
SpongeBob movie as well.
Wow.
Or like any movie that came from an animated series.
Yeah,
that
I know,
needed
but
that.
it's just like it's too much, you know.
Sure.
Like it's too much. I would say that it's towards the middle, honestly, because some of those can be very, very bad and just feel like really cheap and junky, and it's definitely not top of the pile, you know. Like it's not one of the best ones ever. So yeah, kind of boring, but yeah, towards the middle of the pack, honestly. Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
What's the top? What's the bottom of the pack?
Bottom of the pack.
Yeah, because my next question was to rank them. So
Thornberrys Go Wild.
No.
I haven't seen it in a million years.
How dare you?
Just the dialogue scenes from the SpongeBob movie suck. Especially setting it up with Mindy and all that stuff. Like, it's trash. It's really bad, but it's a good movie. So, like, I can't say that as the whole movie, but I'm sure I'd have to think of some other ones that were just really awful. Rugrats movies were fine, so...
Oh, we never mentioned Bosco. I just want to throw in a Bosco.
Bosco's pretty good. Also, in general, I will say, the fish odors, excepting Gordon or Grover or whatever the fuck his name is, were like probably the best part, or like some of the funniest characters in the movie, because they just don't care.
That's why I love them.
And they were funny. They were funny driving the little cart around. They were funny
in the submarine,
almost dying. They were like, yeah, it was really good.
They were in the submarine under at the bottom of the ocean, just being like, well,
Felix was great. Like, I'm fleeing
stuff.
the country and being suspicious. Like,
with his sailor suit.
Excellent. Like, really good stuff they had with them.
Oh, and Tammy
even was good. Was that Jordan Peele for sure? Did we check the credits?
Oh, and Nicole Byer was Olsen Benner.
Oh,
that's
yeah, I guess she was there for like a shot. But yeah, Bosco was fun.
And Harley.
I liked Bosco's part. That was good.
Yeah, Bosco, I had said when we watched it when we got back from watching it, the thing that I said was that the only person who really won, like, career-wise, life-wise, was Bosco.
Yeah.
That was it. No one else. Bob just broke even.
Right.
You know, the family broke even. The rich people go back to being rich. Like, one less rich who's probably gonna, get out of jail because they're rich.
Yeah, probably.
And then, Bosco gets to go back to homicide, probably get a raise.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I beat you, I beat all of you.
Sure.
So yeah, I think that's a good place to end it. Just go Bosco.
Yeah, Bosco did great.
That's the end of my fire round questions.
Wow.
Oh, I remember. If you were to be one of the characters in the movie, what character would you want to be? In this movie specifically, not in like you'll be in the show later, but like from what happened in the film, which character do you think like, oh yeah, you know what, I want to be them for this situation?
Not Mr. Fishoder, because he almost got arrested and sent to prison forever, or killed or something.
Which like was the reason why Tina realized that her relationship with Jimmy Jr. was toxic, was because she saw Felix and Fanny's relationship and was like, love is blind. Ooh, okay. I'm looking at the trivia. There's an appearance of the Ghost Boy. When Bosco's doing the stakeout at the One-Eyed Snakes, we see a graffiti of the Ghost, which was cute. That's all I have to say.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Dale Bear, that's his name. Earlier I had said that there was a animation. There was a guy in animation who this was his final film. Wow, we can dedicate this episode to Dale Bear and Cotton Candy. Oh, what if that's why they named him Cotton Candy Dan?
But the guy's name was Dale?
Oh, yeah. Never mind. Yeah, so it says the 11th season of the show and the movie were in production back to back, which then also means that they did season 12 too. So a lot of recasting. Harley is Ashley Nicole Black now. Olsen Benner is Nicole.
But Katie Crown had a credit.
She had an exec producer credit.
Oh.
So if there is a season 13, because I don't think there has been any news about a season 13.
Really?
I haven't heard any, or I don't know.
Supposed to start in what, like 2 months?
What?
That's when television seasons start. That's usually when they start, Bob's.
Oh, I lie. Okay, yeah, you're right.
Oh.
So what? Yeah, how are you feeling about season 13 of Bob's Burgers now that we have had the movie? Do you think it's going to change anything?
No. Well, what changed, right? Like what?
Well, Louise is more confident in herself with her ears. Do you think we're going to see throughout season 13 her losing her ears? Because I think that's what fans were really hoping for in the movie, but like maybe it's something that we see in season 13, which is what would make me feel a little bit more comfortable.
I think the ear thing is such a dead end and like it doesn't matter, it's such a surface level thing. So I don't care. No, I don't expect them to touch on that for a very long time, unless this is like the final season or something and they feel like they should do that. But coming so soon after the movie where it was the whole point, like I feel strange. So no, I don't see anything really changing. Yeah, it'll probably continue to feel like the modern seasons of Bob's Burgers.
Modern indeed.
So,
okay, well, that was that.
Nat will be back for another 15 episodes, of course.
No. See, like, Nat could have been in the movie. Nat could have, like, just saved the day and been like, I have a limo full of money. Because, like, I know a guy who has money and he makes money. And here it is. Because I'm Nat.
But really, she has a shoebox full of ones. And it's like $200.
Hey. Any final thoughts, words?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I wasn't really upset with the movie when I was watching it. I was mostly just, it was one of those where you're kind of forgetting it the whole time. And yeah, certainly not coming away from it with like tons of positive feelings, really. It was just like, oh yeah, I saw it. I can say that I've seen it.
I feel that.
And then it was over.
For me, it was really important for me to watch it in theaters as such a vocal Bob's Burgers fans. Like within my friend group, I think people are always like, oh, you love Bob's Burgers so much. I'm like, yeah, duh. But then the movie came out and everybody kept asking me like, oh, have you seen it? Have you seen it? And I just kept saying no. And then I felt ashamed of myself for not watching it so soon. And I know that it took me that long because I was nervous for it to be bad. But even if it wasn't something that I enjoyed, I'm glad they made it. I'm glad that I went to go see it in theaters and I didn't wait for it to be something that I just watch at home, because it would have felt like a totally different experience. I think that there are aspects of the movies that they could have changed, and that did make me feel uncomfortable, especially like with that casual murder, which I guess like at the end of the day, like haha, whatever happened 6 years ago, but it did make me uncomfortable. There were really funny aspects of it. There wasn't a lot of character growth, but that's the way like television shows go. So we have to remember that it is a television show that was elongated into a movie. Yeah, it made me laugh. I did laugh at parts. And I like, that's what they were trying to achieve. So mission accomplished. And that's the Bob's Burgers movie. Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for listening to this really long episode that we're probably gonna have to edit down a little bit. Thank you for being here. I am Tiara Shea, and that's Mike. And this is Insert Burger Pun, and stay out of my room.
Bye.